want to make a KFC run this afternoon, and while I'm at it, maybe I'll share an old Navy story with you. Every once in a while I remember something. Here out and about with Walter on a Saturday afternoon. Make our usual little dump run. I think I'll go to town and get some fried chicken down to the KFC. My recent vlog told you about us having BLTs in the oven and smoking up the whole oven. The wife spent better part of the morning cleaning the oven. If it makes that big a mess bacon in the oven, I don't think we'll ever have bacon in the oven anymore. But anywho, it was good. I enjoyed the bacon cooked in the oven, but it's too much work. We put up a bunch of collards today, blanched them and froze them. So I'm off to town to do my little chores. And if anything exciting happens along the way, I'll include it in this video. But I thought I'd take a minute and tell you one of my stories. I haven't got it planned out exactly what to say. I'll just go by memory and tell you the story. When I was in the Navy, I first hadn't been in too long. I was stationed in mine land, strictly on minesweepers. All total, I was on 4 different minesweepers. The USS Limpkin. Stayed there for a short while until another minesweeper needed a damage controlman, and they sent me over there because they had 2. So I went from there to the USS Affray, an MSO. Stayed on the MSO for, I don't know, less than a year, and got moved over to the USS Jacana. I was on the Jacana for 2.5 years at least. We cruised the Caribbean, all over the place. But shortly after I went aboard the Jacana, I decided I wanted to take up scuba diving. I'd always been a good swimmer, having grown up in Florida and excelled at swimming quite a bit. It's only natural that I would take to something like scuba diving. Well, I didn't have a whole lot of money. I talked to a guy on another ship, and he had a set of twin 52, that means 52 cubic inches of air in each tank. Twin 52 scuba tanks. I still got the tank somewhere. They're here in the building out there, old and cruddy, and no longer use them. They were in great shape then. Went out and bought me a new regulator at the small store. Very nice regulator. I only paid the guy like $50 or $75 for his tanks. I paid way more than that just for the regulator. And that was quite a bit of money back in them days. Anyway, I digress. I went and got me a book on scuba diving and studied that, and started diving around different places in the Caribbean. I dove off the islands down there in Curacao, however you pronounce it. A lot of places in the Cuba, Guantanamo Bay. I did some diving down there, and it was just a hobby, something to do. Well, we were in port in Charleston. It was either Charleston or Norfolk, I don't remember now. I guess we were in Little Creek, Virginia. And somehow we backed up the ship. I don't know if we were relocating to another pier. I don't remember the details. But in the process of backing this minesweeper up, we backed into a mooring line. And it wrapped all around the propellers so tight it just started locking up everything. Something's wrapped around all the propellers. And we didn't have a diver on board that minesweeper. It was weren't big enough to get a UDT in there or anything. I'm sure he didn't want to report he had done backed his ship over somebody's mooring line. But he asked me, the captain did, so get your tanks out and go down there and see what's going on around the propeller. I thought, well, I'll go down there and see, Captain, but I ain't got no air in my tanks. I haven't charged them. And there ain't no dive shop around here. Here I am at the KFC. Alright, viewers, Walter got a whole bucket of chicken. Have me some leftovers for later. Probably be lip smacking good. I know we were too tired to do any cooking today. Got out yesterday and trimmed a few limbs out there by the fence. Well, I say a few. I filled up the whole back of my green pickup truck. That tired me out. I didn't do much else yesterday but sit around and watch TV. Gonna go home and grab me a chicken leg or a big old greasy short thigh and jam it in my face. So I put on my diving mask and my fins, jumped in the water and swam down there around the propellers. Didn't take me long to figure out that the mooring line, it's a nylon mooring lines are a good 2 inches in diameter rope. They're designed to stretch a little bit instead of break. They're very strong. You tie the ship to the pier with them. And they were wrapped around them propellers like you wouldn't believe, all around the drive shafts and stuff. Well, they don't call them propellers. I'm talking through my hat. In the Navy, the propellers are referred to as screws. Anyway, all this mooring line is wrapped around the screws, and not bigger around than a man. I mean, it's just turn after turn after turn wrapped around that shaft going to the screws. And I swam back up to the top and told him, I said, it's mooring lines. And there's a lot of them. Can you get them off? I'll try, Captain. I couldn't hold my breath very long down there to do all that work. And I said, I know what, we got them, we had some mask. I forget what you call it now. But it's designed to, you can put on this mask with an air hose to an outside pump and go into a compartment full of smoke and walk around in there and do whatever you need to do. They weren't really designed for underwater, but I said, I'll try it. I put that mask on, and since I'm not diving that deep, there's not a whole lot of pressure when you're down there. And it worked. I said, Captain, it works. I'm going to see how I can do. I got out my diving knife. It was a knife about 8 or 10 inches long. Started trying to cut them ropes, and it didn't take me but about 5 minutes to realize you couldn't cut them ropes with a regular knife, especially when they're wet and underwater and stretching and spongy. I mean, I cut for 10-15 minutes and didn't even get through one rope, and they were wrapped around the shaft a good 100 times. So I said, this ain't going to work. Throw me down a hacksaw. And I started sawing with a hacksaw through them ropes, and it was doing fairly good. But after about an hour or two, I was getting tuckered out. One of the other men, I think it was one of the electricians, he put on the mask, and he went down there and sawed for a while. And then somebody else swam down there and sawed for a while. I guess it took us 4 or 5 hours of working to get all them lines took out from around them shafts. And that's not an exciting story, it's just something I recall from my days in the Navy. Just like the time I raised a small tugboat back up that's tied to the pier. I have to tell you about that story sometime. Anyway, I did have some exciting things happen to me in the Navy, but some of them I don't guess you'd tell on YouTube. Anyhow, that's not the greatest story in the world, but you could picture Walter down there swimming around with a knife and a hacksaw, and that water where we were swimming was real murky. Had a lot of jellyfish in the water. I got stung by a jellyfish 3 or 4 times while I was down there, and that's not a comfortable thing. Burns like crazy when a jellyfish stings you. You just rub it off and keep going. It's not much worse than a bee bite or something. Sailors are known to get in trouble here and there. You keep them little instances to yourself. I often think about my Navy days and wish I'd have stayed for the whole 20 years. It's a great career for a man that don't know what he needs and wants to do. If somebody looking to learn a trade, you can learn that in the Navy. That's going to about conclude my vlog for today. I appreciate you listening and traveling along with me. My mouth's just watering trying to get home and eat some of this chicken.